Hello, I'm Harvey, host of Franchising Brand Stories.
Good afternoon, I'm Cheryl Harper and I'm Managing Director of Greensleeves Lawn Care.
And I'm Nick Hume, I'm Business Development Manager for Greensleeves Lawn Care.
Fantastic, and welcome to Franchising Brand Stories. This is the show where we get under the hat of some of the best brands in the UK and in the world. And Franchising Brand Stories is brought to you by FranRec, the specialist staff and executive recruiters for the UK franchise industry. So, what is this? This is a live show. This is not a podcast. If you are here live, if it's December 12th from about 5:15 for about 50 minutes, you can comment live and you can ask a question. So if you are here live, please do that. And if you're watching in the future, then please pop a comment up because we can look at those and we can respond to those. I say we, it's probably more our lovely guests today. And this show is for you. If you're a prospective franchisee, if you're looking at franchising as an option, then these shows are for you. They're about what's finding out behind the brochure, what's going on behind these businesses and who the wonderful people are that are a big part of these businesses. So it's a really special thing and it's a real honor to have these conversations. And the brand story that we're going to hear today is the wonderful story of Greensleeves. And we have two fantastic guests with us. We have the wonderful Cheryl Harper and Nick Hume. Cheryl, Nick, welcome to Franchising Brand Stories.
Thank you.
Thank you for having us.
You're absolutely welcome. It's lovely to have you here. And look at that. There's a question on the screen already that seems very appropriate for the beginning of this. So can we start with asking you, what is Greensleeves?
So Greensleeves is a professional lawn care provider. So we're a service business, we're a repeat business. We have around 80,000 customers in the UK that we will service on a regular basis throughout the year. We don't do lawn maintenance. It is literally just service enhancements.
Wow. Fantastic. Excellent. And that's a really big customer base as well at 80,000 customers. That's a lot of lawns to mow, isn't it?
Lawns, yeah. I mean, we like Cheryl says, we service lawns on a regular basis. So we do 5 seasonal treatments and then we do additional service on top of that. So we're going to see these customers on a regular basis. So it's not just the beauty of our business, it's a repeat business. It's sort of low invoice value, but it's repetitive. So we're going back and back and back and back. So
it's high volume, relatively low value. So it's a great business model. But Harvey, we don't mow any lawns.
Okay.
we don't do the maintenance side of it. We're doing things that will enhance the aesthetics. So we're doing the fertilizing, we're removing and controlling the weeds and moss, that kind of thing. And we also service hard surfaces. So we take control of weeds within hard surfaces and also control things like algae and moss on your driveways, patios, pathways, that kind of thing throughout the winter months.
Fantastic. I'm so glad you can't see my lawn and my pathways. Although maybe you could help me out with that.
We definitely can. We definitely can.
I call it a meadow. Anyway, let's have a little look at. It's really good if you are a prospective franchisee to try and understand sort of where you're at as a business right now. We're going to go back in time in a moment or two, but sort of where do you stand as a business in terms of how many franchisees and which parts of the UK can you be found in?
Yeah, so at the moment we're a relatively large franchise business. We've got 84 franchisees covering 100 territories. So we've got several franchisees that have got a couple of territories, but there's still much more opportunity to go. We've got vacant spaces at the moment, so kind of Scotland, Wales, the southwest, Devon.
A little bit over in Essex as well, that sort of area. So we've got pretty much the whole of the UK covered, but there is sort of little pockets where where you got, but it tends to be those more rural areas because obviously we work on a sort of high density areas, if you like. That's where we're most successful. But they're sort of more rural areas. We're not we've not got those covered quite as much yet. But there's definitely, I would say 80% of the country is probably covered, but just certain areas that are not.
And we're in Northern Ireland as well. We've got 2 territories there as well. But again, more vacant, more availability still to go over there as well.
Fantastic, really interesting stuff, and it's great to just sort of get that idea as a prospective franchisee, just really what the business is about, because sometimes the names give it away. It certainly gives it away that it's something to do with gardening, but it's just really great to understand the bespoke and nature of what you do, and it's really rather specific to a certain thing, isn't it? So fantastic. If you have just joined us today, this is Franchising Brand Stories, and today we are hearing the wonderful brand story of Greensleeves. And Franchising Brand Stories is brought to you by FranRec, the specialist staff and executive recruiters to the UK franchise industry. So we have heard a little bit about the basis of the company, and that's fantastic to hear, especially if you're an aspiring franchisee listening to this and trying to understand what the business is about. But this is the exciting bit. This is the wonderful bit, the bit I love the most, where we go back in time now. So I'm going to, I think, hand this over to the lovely Cheryl. And I'm just going to ask you, where did it all begin? Where were the green shoots of the business?
So it began a long time ago, 26 years ago now, in 1998, in a really small village up near Huddersfield. The business was created by a gentleman called John Warham. I never actually met him. That was before my time. He started off as a gardening business. So at that point, my understanding is we did do maintenance, we did do the lawn mowing and the hedge pruning and all that kind of thing. And then quickly realised that actually we needed to focus on the lawn care element. It's more profitable, a better service and so on. So in the year 2000, we had our first pilot franchise, and that was in the Harrogate area. We've still got a franchisee trading there today, albeit not the original one. And then it just went from strength to strength there. So in the early 2000s, we gathered more franchisees, 3 of which then did a management buyout back in 2008. So they bought John out, and 3 franchisees then became the 3 directors of the business. As the story goes, it was a tricky time because it was the financial crash and things got worse not long after they'd taken the business. So it was a big risk, but actually it was one that paid off really well. I think we got our largest number of franchisees back around then in kind of one period, because people were unfortunately experiencing redundancy and so on, and actually starting to look at more opportunities. Our model was a good one because relatively low entry, repeat business, as we've said. So, we kind of went from strength to strength. So that was back in 2008. And then fast forward a few years, I joined the business back in 2014. So I've been with the business 10 years now. I'd had a career prior to Greensleeves in the corporate world. I'd worked for a large insurance company. I'd done a lot of management roles. I'd taken voluntary redundancy, and I'd kind of decided that, that I was done with that. So I took a year off, and then I had a year off with my youngest. And I was climbing the walls. I'm definitely somebody that wants to work. I need a project. I need something to do. So I didn't know anything about franchising, and I definitely didn't know that lawn care treatments existed, but in came Greensleeves at that point. So I actually joined the business as basic reception. I was a part-time receptionist kind of 10 years ago. So the great thing about that is I've done every role within the business. I know it inside out. I'm extremely passionate about it all. And I kind of arrived at this little warehouse in Huddersfield. One of our franchisees still operates out of there today, actually our largest franchisee. And it was like, well, this is brilliant, but actually it's got so much potential. And I kind of just got stuck in from there, developing the IT and everything else. Nick had actually joined the business. I'll let him say a little bit about himself, but he joined in 2012, but actually as a franchisee. So we came on at similar times, but in very, very different ways. One of the directors was then bought out around 2016, but he's still in the business today as a franchisee with his wife as well. And he's actually our longest standing franchisee at 23 years. So we have quite a lot that have been with us for several terms. Fast forward to 2019, there was a second management buyout, and we were then left with just one owner. And then we really started at that point to escalate our technical developments, technology, that kind of thing. But then in 2022, October 2022, we were acquired by Neighbourly. So we're now part of Neighbourly Brands UK. We're one of 6 brands. They're the biggest sort of home services hub, if you like, in the UK, and we're actually they're American owned. So we've got over 30 brands in total. So it's a great place to be, and that was a really exciting acquisition because that's really a kind of we've now got a central support team. It's invested a lot of money, and that was part of the rebrand. So we've gone through a rebrand in 2024, complete top to bottom. So everything from the van livery to our website to our new customer portal. There's been so much going on, and the results have been quite staggering. So it's actually a great time to join Greensleeves now. But just going back a bit to, do you just want to say about you in the business?
Absolutely. And before you do that, Nick, I'm going to put up a question that's come in from Simon, actually, because I think it's going to be relevant for probably what you're about to say.
Yeah.
Let's just read it out. And Simon's put, Nick, I understand you were a former franchisee. What attracted you to franchising, and how did you discover Greensleeves? Perhaps you can incorporate that question in sort of telling your backstory and how you've become involved.
Yeah, certainly. I mean, I think, how did I become a franchisee? It's probably like a lot of people, by accident. I think, unless you're aware of franchising. I know obviously the BFA do a lot of work these days on promoting the world of franchising, and it's a great place to be. But my story starts from an accident. Really, it was like we were having our lawn treated at home, and there was a guy walking up and down, doing his treatment, and there was a leaflet pushed to the door, and I thought, you know what, I could do that. So that's where you make your first initial contact. So I contacted Greensleeves and said, look, I'm interested. They said, oh, we've got territory free for you. So the initial contact was to go up to head office, which was, like Cheryl said, was up in a small industrial unit up in just outside Huddersfield. Had the initial meeting. And I think it's really important for franchisees to connect with the franchisor. I think that's like so important. And coming out of the initial meeting, I just had a really good feeling about it. I really liked the directors, and I thought, I can work with these people. I think if you don't have that feeling, I think you're always going to be up against it. So that was the initial contact. So I bought a Virgin territory back in 2012. So I don't know if it was a midlife crisis or something like that. I'm not sure. It's one of those.
Jet ski,
I'm still having it now today. Yeah. So that was back then. That was 2012. So I was a franchisee for 7 years, and we say this to all our franchisees that come through the door today. It's like you never know when the opportunity for you to sell your business comes along. So you need to be day one ready to sell effectively, which is what we say to everybody. So I wasn't planning on selling my business, but someone came along, still a franchisee today, and were interested in buying my territory. So I sold my business at that point back in 2019, and it just so happened that the owner of the business at the time was looking for someone to do franchise development. And the role sort of fitted with my background being in lawn care plus knowing the franchisee. So it was quite a good fit really for the business at the time and for me personally. So I moved from franchisee to franchisor, and I haven't really looked back really. It's been a whirlwind sort of 5 years. And that, since we joined Neighbourly last couple of years, things have really pushed on really quickly, and I think my role's developed. Personally, I think I've developed as well. Especially having Cheryl as your sort of my sort of line manager and managing director. It's been really good. We've had a really good partnership, and I think the business, we've got a passion for Greensleeves. We think that there's so much more in this business. We're really just scratching the surface of the amount of customers that we serve and the opportunities there. So I think we're really passionate about it, and I think hopefully the franchisees see that and can see that we're all on a journey together, and and there's great things just around the corner. So so being a franchisor now is fantastic, and really enjoying it.
Fantastic. Thanks so much, both of you, for sharing that. I picked up on a couple of things that you both said there. First of all, Nick, what you said there is when you said, I could do that, I think that was quite a powerful thing, because it doesn't matter what franchise business you're looking at. Sometimes people that want to be entrepreneurs, people that are perhaps stuck in corporate, or in the corporate world, suddenly think, I could do that, right? Now, the reality is starting your own business, building your own brand is incredibly hard. But if you've got the attitude of I can do that, and then you combine that with the support and the proven model in franchising, it's a really good combination.
Yeah, I think,
No.
yeah, I think it is important. I mean, we take people from all walks of life and all sorts of business backgrounds. And, the beauty of franchising is that, like you say, the support's there. So you might come back and have really good customer service skills, but be absolutely hopeless when it comes to, spreadsheets or running a business day to day. You may be fantastic at the admin and all that sort of stuff, but be not very good at customer service. So, so I think having all those skills available to you should, people from all sorts of businesses should be able to, or all sorts of backgrounds should be able to, take up a franchise business and, and know that there's there people, there to help them and support them through their, journey, so to speak.
The other thing that I wanted to pick up on what you said, I mean, I think it's wonderful that the fact that you were a franchisee, so you can talk from that perspective of being a franchisee, have gone through that journey, and you mentioned there being connected to a franchisor, being aligned. These things are so important. The numbers are one thing, but really being aligned, being connected, and getting on with the people that you're going to work with is so important. And I think it was really, really good to hear you say that. We've got somebody else here live as well. So let's say hello to who's here live. It's Johnny Joseph. And he's from Los Angeles. So it's great to have you here, Johnny. We're going to bring up your question in a moment or two. One of the things that I wanted to ask you is clearly franchising is a big part of the business. It's the model that you originally chose to grow the business. It's a model that through the acquisition with Neighbourly is continuing to grow the business. But why do you think franchising has been so successful in the growth of your business throughout all those different transitions?
Because it's just a model that just works. It's a proven model. You just repeat it. What a mantra that we've had through the business the entire time. It previously came from our old owner, but we keep things simple and we do simple things very well. And that is something that with all the developments we try to have, we always keep that in mind. We don't want to overcomplicate anything, keeping it simple, doing simple things well. At the point that we were acquired by Neighbourly, we did actually have a corporate arm as well. We had around 19 territories that were head office owned. And in theory, that should work very well. The reality for us that it wasn't great, because we ended up with a lot of single operators around the country. You're not there directly managing them on patch day to day. They're not growing their business because it isn't their business, that they're an employee and so on and so forth. So actually quite a big piece of work I've been doing this year is managing those corporate areas down. So we are now 100% back to franchise owned, and that's what works well for us. But a great byproduct of that was we had some lawn managers running those areas that we employed, that we identified, actually, you could be a really good franchisee. You have got the makings of it. And we have converted some of those into franchise owners. And it's been a brilliant story because they've been people that considered themselves employees. They hadn't considered they could ever grow their own business. And as a result of that, now they've got our backing, they understood what they were doing, but their earning potential is going to far exceed the earning potential they would have had remaining in that kind of role. So that's been a real win-win. But for us, this model works much better as a franchise business all day long from our experience.
Absolutely. That's fantastic to hear that story as well, as to, because franchising does change lives. It really does. I mean, you spoke a little bit there about how that model has evolved over time, and that transition. I mean, when a big organization like Neighbourly takes over, especially when they come from a US centric and a US sort of background, that transition towards the sort of the UK territory and market can sometimes be a little bit difficult and challenging. How has the model sort of evolved in sort of incorporating that change from the sort of organic, another gardening pun, the organic start
I mean, the model has continued to evolve over the years. When Nick joined, we literally did 4 seasonal treatments. In Nick's first year, he had 3 months off over winter, not earning anything. So, you know, we've continually sort of evolved and added new treatments. So we've been developing that over the period anyway. In terms of arriving at Neighbourly, actually, the transition has been very smooth. I think Neighbourly in the UK have onboarded 5 businesses before us, so they're kind of used to that as well. We've got a great managing director running the UK at Neighbourly, so has a great understanding of getting these businesses in. I think it really helped, not blowing our own trumpets, but the fact that Nick and I stayed around because we are so passionate about it. So actually, in terms of evolving the model, there haven't really been any challenges. What it has given us is that ability to have that rebranding and develop that technology. So we've really simplified our offering to the customers. We're all about now making it as easy as possible for the customers to do business with us. So in terms of the new website that we've launched this year, the customers can now go on. We operate a subscription package-based model. So very clear what it is that we're offering, very clear choices, multiple choices as to what the customers want to sign up for. They can sign up end-to-end and fully become a customer on the website. So we're 24/7 now, even though the franchisees aren't 24/7, that technology is working for them. Within the first couple of days of the website being launched, I got a text on a Sunday afternoon from a franchisee saying to me, Cheryl, this is brilliant. I'm sat having my Sunday lunch and you've just delivered me a brand new customer fully signed up, paying by direct debit straight into my admin system. So, you know, that's been amazing. So it's a win-win because we're developing and delivering business straight to the franchisees.
Fantastic.
It's really easy to do business from a customer perspective as well. So from my point of view, being acquired by Neighbourly has only delivered great things. You know, we've not had any challenges at all.
And I think it's the investment that comes with that as well, because a lot of the stuff that we've delivered over the last, 12 months, it's not just happened in the last 12 months. It's taken sort of 2 years to get there. And, and that, and like I say, it's the investment to do that, in new websites and portals and all that sort of stuff. It costs money, and, they've supported us to be able to do that. So it's been really great.
Fantastic. No, that's brilliant. Nick, I'm going to come to you. Well, I'll come to either of you for this one, but either of you can take this. But again, if you're a prospective franchisee looking at this, one of the first things that you're going to want to know about is what happens when you make that initial call up to, we're not talking about what you do day to day in the business, but you've decided I could do that. Okay, I'm going to use your expression. I like that one. You've decided I could do that and you make that call. What does that journey, that prospect journey look like for a prospective franchisee?
Well, you take, because I get involved a bit later down the line.
So, I mean, we're on the portals. We've got a greensleevesfranchise.co.uk dedicated website for this. So we do find now that people have done a lot more due diligence earlier on. So at the point they're contacting us, I do tend to find now, several years ago, they were just coming to us and they hadn't really researched. I am finding now that people are doing a lot more research, so know a lot more information when they come to us. I think franchisors are doing much more things like this now, which is great that you're giving us the opportunity. People want to buy into people, and you don't always get that just in written forms, websites and so on. So I think that's great. So they will normally come to us via one of the portals or via our website. They'll put an inquiry in. We get back to them very quickly within kind of 24 hours. We will send them information out, and then we will also pick up the phone and reach out and speak to that prospect very early on. It's not a set in stone process for everybody because people are different and they have different needs. They're at different stages. But in general, you'll have several phone calls, making sure that it's right, understanding what people want. And then quite quickly, I get them to come to head office because I think it's really important for them to meet me, to see head office, because they're not just buying into Greensleeves, they're buying into Neighbourly in our point of view as well. So that's great because you see we're in the office today. We've got a brilliant setup here. So they come to the office, they'll meet me, they'll usually meet one of the business development managers, they'll meet staff that are here, and then we go into much more detail. We don't do sort of testing of people. I know some franchisors do that. I think I've been doing this a long time now, and you'll understand, you get a feel for that person and they get you. And ultimately, it has to be right. You can have a person sat opposite you that could do a brilliant job, but if they're not going to buy into the business and you're not going to rub along well with them, it's just not going to work. And I think it's important to establish that quite early on. But hopefully, you don't get that. You have the discovery day, you answer all of the questions that they've got. From there, you then normally a business development manager will get further involved. Then we'll look at the business planning with them, cash flow planning, finance, draft franchise agreements, all of that good stuff. And then it's very important to me that they speak to people in the network. So we are extremely transparent. I think that's hugely important. We're a very open business, a very friendly business, and I give open access to anybody within the network. We always say, if you've got specific questions, we'll direct you to people that we think it'd be great for you to speak with, but speak to whoever you want within the network. There's 84 people, take your pick, and I think that's hugely important. And then also going out with somebody in the network to understand what it actually is day to day. Because quite often with us in virgin territory sales, you will be out on the tools to start with for the first several years, so to speak. You'll be on the lawns. So it's important you've got an understanding of that, because we are looking for people that management style franchise now. We're transitioning. We used to have a lot of single owner operators, buy yourself a job essentially. We're moving away from that now. But it's important that we get people that like working outdoors in all weathers, but have got the great skills. They don't need to have any lawn care skills. They can easily be taught. What we're looking for is the type of person, the mindset, communication, sales, customer service. It's all of those things that can't be taught so easily that we're more interested in at that kind of stage.
Yeah, absolutely, and it's really important to understand that journey as a prospective franchisee. And I put this question up from Simon because you were very conveniently answering that question in a way.
Yeah.
But look, let's go on to this question and look at it in a little bit more detail. Before we do, I love the fact that you said keep things simple and do simple things well. During these things, I write down a lot of stuff genuinely because that's good stuff. And I think it was really interesting to hear during that prospect journey process that you get a feel for someone. Okay, because again, I think it's really important. Some soft skills, like you say, some things can be taught and some things can't. Some things are just, do you get on? Do you get a good feel for this person? Do they get a good feel for you? And that's just human nature that at the moment robots can't replicate that one, but let's get into this question. So Simon's put, sounds like a great business. What qualities do you look for in new franchisees? Do they need specific skills and experience to join? So let's take that back again. I know you began to answer that one, but it's more about that passion, isn't it? More about that determination, and what sort of skills do you need?
So again, you don't need to have any experience of doing lawn care. We always say that's the thing that can be taught quite easily between ourselves, our supplier support with technical training, all of that kind of. So we've got that covered. But what we're interested in is you as a person. I think it all starts with mindset and drive. Franchising is a great thing to join, but I always say this isn't a get rich quick scheme. The model works, but the model only works if you work as well. So we need people to understand that they're prepared to do a hard day's work, certainly in the early days. So it's that mindset, it's that willingness to succeed. And I always try and understand from people why. Why do you want to do this? What other opportunities are you looking at? What drives you? What's your end game? What's your reason? And I love how, me as a person, I'm quite interested in people anyway. I'm quite interested in human behaviour, why people do what they do, say what they say. So I find that part fascinating. So I think all that kind of thing is really important. Challenging them, how will you find if this happens or if that happens? It's not always sunny skies and happy days. That there are tough, challenging times. How will you handle that scenario? So I think that's important, the actual type of person. And then beyond that, ultimately, we provide lawn care, but we're a sales and marketing business. We need to get customers in. So for me, it's those skills, and that's evolved over the years. When we were just literally trying to get franchisees in and they just wanted to be single operate, not so much. But now with people that were looking to scale the businesses, they do kind of need to be very well rounded, because initially it will just be them and they'll be building their own businesses. But I think definitely the customer service, the understanding of the need to respond to customers very quickly, the understanding of the way the market is these days. If you're not responding quickly, somebody else will. So it's that customer service, it's that organisation, it's that admin. You're kind of jack of all trades in the early days, but you've got to do everything well. And full support with everything, but ultimately you're the one doing it on the ground. So I'm kind of trying to establish all of those things, and you do get a feel for it very quickly with the questions that we ask, with the responses that we're getting. You're also trying to establish that people are prepared to work within the model. I recently had a prospect in, and he was great. He was a great guy. You could see that he would really try and scale the business quite quickly, but yet he wasn't going to work within the model. He was going to get this van, even though I'd said that wasn't the way that it was. And we came to a conclusion in the end. He said to me, do you know what? This isn't going to work because I'm going to cross you one too many times. He had quite a lot of good self-understanding. And it was a shame, because he could have been a great prospect, but actually we both came to the same conclusion. So you don't win them all. But if we'd have put him through as a franchisee, it wouldn't have benefited either of us. So I think, the skills of being able to run that business and recognise if you're not great at something, then who have I got round me that's going to be able to do that for me? What support can I get? I think one of the other great things that we've implemented this year, we did find that people were not wanting to employ people. They had a nervousness because they didn't know how to employ people. So one of the things that as a franchisor we've put in, we partner with a company now, HR and employment law company, for no additional cost to the franchisees. They've got full access to a portal now and full support with employing people. So things like that have been a great change, because you don't necessarily have those skills if you've never done that in a previous role. So there's a lot to think about there.
No, that's the short answer.
That is the short answer.
No, I love it. I love it. I mean, there were so many gems that I've written down there, and so many things that I think a prospective franchisee, if they're watching this, are going to relate to. And that mindset. It's and the fact that you've got to do a hard day's work. It's really important to realise that in franchising, you are given the tools to do the job.
Yeah.
I sometimes describe it that if you're given a hammer and a saw and you're a carpenter, they may be the best tools in the world to do that particular job, but they will do nothing without somebody using them correctly. Yes. And also, if you use the wrong end of the hammer, it's not going to work very well.
Yeah.
Or if you use the wrong type of saw, it's not going to work very well. So it really resonated with me when you said there about the fact not everybody's right for it. They may be great entrepreneurs, fantastic sales and marketing geniuses, but there's a balance between being an entrepreneur and working within the system, and knowing that with franchising, you're buying time. When you buy a proven model, you're buying yourself some time.
Yes.
Most entrepreneurs could do it with enough time and enough money and enough determination.
Yeah.
But that's what you buy when you buy into a model. Someone's already done that part of it.
Well, that's what I did when I first started. It was buying into the model. You pay your money because it's already there. All the bricks and mortar are already in place. You just got to keep adding layers to that. But the actual foundations are already there. You don't need to reinvent the wheel every time, do you? It's already there for you.
No, exactly. We're going to get on to what the day-to-day is going to look like for a franchisee in a moment. But if you have just joined us, this is Franchising Brand Stories, and today we are hearing and have heard the story of Greensleeves. If you have just joined us, scan the QR code top left at the moment. It will take you to this episode and you can watch it from the beginning at your leisure. And if you catch a snippet of this in the future, scan the QR code and again, you will be able to see the whole episode. So I think what we're going to do now is, again, when you're a prospective franchisee and you've understood what it's, perhaps who you might need to be part of the business, you understand what's going to happen when you approach the business. I think a really important part of the story is understanding what happens in the day-to-day. What does that day look like? Perhaps near the beginning? What does it look like as you start to grow the business? What does it look like single and multi-site operator?
Yeah, so I take that one.
Yeah.
It obviously it depends where you are in the cycle of your business, but and we've got management style businesses and we've got single operators. So if you're a brand new starter coming in, then basically most territories, if it's a virgin territory, starting with like 0 customers. So the first job for you really is to acquire customers, and we'll support you in that sort of process. So we'll do plenty of marketing for you in the first instance to generate those number of leads. We're all over digital marketing these days, all your social media channels, your Google, PPC, all that sort of stuff, as well as the old style stuff, so sticking leaflets through doors, etc. And we encourage our franchisees to self-market themselves as well locally. So if that's knocking on doors, in the first instance, to build up that sort of client base. So, just to get that sort of momentum going. I'm always astounded with this business that, it's very difficult to stand still. You can't switch it off. So once the customers start coming in, it's almost like a snowball. Once you get it going off, momentum starts going. And most of our customers, or say 50% of our customers, come through recommend a friend channel because we do a good job. They're happy to recommend to their friends and family. So it's that initial inertia. Once you get that going, then the customers start to come in. So for a new franchisee, after that, would be servicing those customers. So day to day would be downloading your job sheet. We have an electronic job sheet on an app. So Greensleeves Live, they'll download that. That'll give them their route for the day, show you which customers they are. They can map it all out. They can do directions, and then delivering service is the first part of that. So depending on what time of year it is, we've got different services, different. So spring's different to summer, different to autumn. So delivering service, that can be just a seasonal treatment, or it could be one of the mechanical services that we offer. So that'll be part of your sort of day to day. That could be anything from, depending on the size of the lawns, 5 customers to 25 customers to more than that. So that would be the first thing. And then once that's complete, then you would.
I'm just gonna jump in there. When you get to a certain size, you're probably going to be looking at around 25 customers a day. But the thing I was going to jump in and say is one of the developments we've had this year with our technology is this customer portal. So we are allowing now the franchisees the opportunity to gain additional work at every visit. So they're going out delivering service, but actually while they're there, unless a customer is having every single service we provide, which isn't frequent because we provide such a wide range, we're noting that while we're there, we're taking images of where work can be done, we're making recommendations. So we're making that at the time of visit, following up with the invoice, but then we're directing the customers to the portal. They can go on there, learn more about the treatments that we're recommending, actually book up and get that added straight onto the direct debit. So from a franchisee increasing their turnover revenue, day to day, just doing the normal job, we are now allowing that with kind of no additional work. So I think that's made a huge difference this year.
Yeah, so spending time with customers, making recommendations, and then once they finish their day, then they can then go back to the office and then follow up on those recommendations. So that would be, speaking to people that they spoke to 2 days, 3 days, 4 days, or whatever it might be, and going through all those, recommendations, and asking people if they wanted to book those, or direct them to the, like Cheryl said, to the portal where they can see all their visit history and all the recommendations that we've made on there as well. And then they'll be following up the prospects that have come through in the meantime as well. So it's a continuous cycle of customer acquisition and service delivery, making recommendations, which all adds to that sort of customer service experience, if you like, which then hopefully will keep them with us for longer, etc., etc.
Yeah. And we have a completely bespoke CRM system. So when I was first employed, quite quickly that was what I got stuck into, developing that. I had a vision of that being the hub of every single business, and we've got there now. So what that does is remove what I call the necessary admin. So it does all of that for you, and then they frees the franchisees up to kind of do the selling, deliver the service, etc., etc. But all the mundane stuff is done. So the routes are all generated, etc., etc. And that really is the hub of the business, and all our franchisees comment on how great our CRM actually is, which we're very proud of.
Well, that's really good. It's important to have that because it sounds as if that's sort of what you do day to day evolves. It starts off with some practical stuff, a lot of promotion stuff to build things up, and as things build, like Nick said there, it sort of becomes a snowball where you've got that business, then maybe you're working on the business, maybe you're looking at other territories, and it sort of evolves and changes.
What we help them with is the planning is important. So you've always got to have one eye ahead, and what we try and stop people doing is getting too caught up in the day-to-day. You need an eye on the future. So you need your business plan. At what point am I going to need a second van? At what point do I need that employee? Because I need to be doing that way ahead of time. There's no point me getting to that volume of work having no one to do it, because then I'm going to be stuck. So that's really important now, and that's a vital role that the BDMs play, helping people understand that yes, you're out delivering service initially, but actually you need to be planning for this growth of your business as well.
And we always say, isn't it, you need to be working on the business, not necessarily in the business.
Yeah.
Very important, very important. We're going to come to some stories about the characters you've met, maybe life changing, because my view is franchising does change lives. It really does. It changes lives of all people in all walks of life. And it's really important to share these stories. I'm sure that you've met hundreds of people that have been affected by the franchise and how it's changed their life. And you started to speak about a few at the beginning, actually, when we talked about the employees and how that had changed their lives. Are there any stories or characters that sort of stick out in your mind over the years of how owning the franchise has affected and changed their lives?
I don't think there's any one particular story I can think of. I mentioned earlier that the people we'd employed as corporate employees that then became franchisees definitely has changed their lives, and it is going to continue to do so, because that earning potential is going to continue to grow year on year on year. I think the biggest thing that always resonates with me is the people saying that they've got time with their families. I've got a number of people that had very busy jobs before, traveling away through the week, never getting to see the kids at bedtime, all of that kind of thing. So I think that's hugely important, because again, it's delivering a great work-life balance, but still delivering you that sort of great potential income. So I think that's hugely important as well. And also, I think we have got this hasn't come necessarily to fruition, but I've got a couple of people at the moment that are family businesses. So it's maybe parents that have invested as franchisees, but with a view to their children becoming, taking over the business longer term. So I think, when you can make it into a legacy for your family as well. And I think that it just works, So I could tell you there's lots of stories. There isn't one standout one. But I think the fact that our franchisees stay. So we run 5-year terms on our franchise agreements, but we run with the right to renew for as many terms as you want, provided obviously you're not breaching anything within the agreement, etc. I'll caveat that.
Yeah.
But we have people that are renewing 2, 3. I've got the one at 23 years. So I mean, I think that speaks for itself in terms of what the business is doing for people and their families, which ultimately that's what we all do it for.
100%. We're gonna have a little look now. We've talked about perhaps the skills and experiences that people need to be in the business, but it would be great to look at about who you want in the business, and also a little bit about, you mentioned earlier some of the territories, but it would be good to discuss the areas you're looking for people and who do you want as a franchisee. How could you characterize that? While I put that on the screen, if I can find it.
So I'm looking for the right person. So it doesn't need to be male, female, old, young. We're looking people with the skills that we talked about earlier. And I think that's hugely important. One of the things when we were acquired by Neighbourly, which was a really positive thing, we actually lowered the entrance fee. So to buy a franchise with us now is 9,995 plus VAT, 25k sort of all in, including working capital, van deposit, etc. But to purchase the actual franchise, 9,995, which is considerably lower. And the reason that we did that, we identified that there's a lot of potential franchisee types that would be brilliant for us, but maybe didn't have the higher level of funds. And that's really important, because we don't necessarily want people that have got high funds if they're not the right people. So it starts with the right person. And I think we're looking for people that are ambitious, that are driven, that want to join a network that's very successful. We have a happy network. I think we work hard for the network. I think that's hugely important. So we want people that are going to come in that want to work with us as franchisor, but also fit well into the franchisee network, because ultimately they've got a relationship as well, your close neighbours and so on. Learn from each other. Be prepared to make changes when we implement them. We don't make change for change's sake. We make change for the right reason. But to evolve, we have to make changes. To develop, we have to make changes. And over the years, the franchisees that haven't been as successful as the others are those that don't keep up with the model, don't keep up with the changes. So I think it's important that you're prepared to come in and understand that you're not going to cherry pick just the bits you want to do, just the services you want to do. Ultimately, we want to be your McDonald's. You have lawn care service in this territory, and it's going to be identical to what you get in that territory. That's what we're looking for. But I think ultimately, people that are driven, people that want to grow, people that are prepared to employ people, become multi-van, the sky's the limit. I'm really interested to see what our biggest franchisee can become, because the other thing that we haven't really touched on is there's so much opportunity. We've got so low penetration in all of our areas, even the ones that have got thousands of customers. When you look at the number of households, we've got geographically demarked postcodes, territories with X amount of houses in there. And then we look at the percentage that are most likely to buy from us. And honestly, the penetration within each territory. So you speak about getting a second territory, and we have got some that are multi-territory, but the conversations I'm having these days when people are coming, I'm like, you've only got several hundred customers, you are only whatever percent in your, don't do that, because actually you're going to spread. We see it. You share your vans, you share your employees. It doesn't work. You're just diluting what you're capable of. So I think multi-territories can be a great thing, but I think that again has to be the right person. It has to be very much set up as two very clear businesses, but focus on what you've got, get your roots tight, maximise what you can get out of every territory. And again, we haven't got huge competition. There aren't millions or hundreds of lawn care providers in the UK. There's us and another one that are national players, and then there's a lot of sort of smaller businesses. So there's so much to go at. There really is huge potential, and I think a lot of people weren't even aware lawn care existed. COVID changed things. 2021, when everybody was working from home, they were seeing us at their neighbours and so on. That really boosted us, and people have become a lot more aware of it since then. But I think, all of those things.
Well, one thing I was going to ask, and it'd be a quick one, because we are sort of drawing towards the end of today's question, but when you're doing the old-fashioned marketing part of it that you mentioned, which was the knocking on doors, which is a part of it, I'm quite interested to ask you, do you tell people to look for people with very scruffy lawns, or look for people that care for their lawns? Where do you think the sort of the inquiry sits? It fascinates me. And please look at my lawn.
Well, I think we always say especially when we're putting new franchisees through training, like Cheryl says, we have certain demographics, so we have people that fit into our typical types of customers. But we always put a slide up there that anybody with a lawn is a potential customer. So let's say the sky's the limit almost. So when we're knocking on doors, we're really looking for any opportunity. So because we also do hard surfaces as well now, so it might not necessarily be that they've got a lawn. A lot of people now have converted front spaces, haven't they, into into hard standing. So that's a potential customer. But anybody with a lawn, we do particularly well on new build estates. That's one of the things that we've sort of targeted over the last, and there's loads of those going up all over the country. Wherever you go, you'll see a new build estates, but they are particular problems when it comes to their lawns, because normally the builders just chucked a load of turf down and scarpered, and then left with this, it looks green for 5 minutes, and then so we can target those sort of areas. They work really well for us. But it's anybody that's got a lawn. We tend to go at certain areas. So semi-detached houses work well for us because we've got access issues to get around to gardens and what have you. So, but anybody with a lawn is really a potential customer. So yeah.
Oh, fantastic. Well, look, we are drawing towards the end of today's conversation. If you have just joined us, this is Franchising Brand Stories. Today we heard the brand story of Greensleeves, and it's been a fantastic story. It's one I think we could spend another 2 hours talking about, but these good people have places to go, I'm sure. We're going to come to the final chapter now, and this is where you give us the Franchising Brand Stories exclusive. Okay, and this is where we're going to talk about the future. So perhaps you could tell us what exciting things are coming up in the future for Greensleeves.
So many exciting things. We're obviously going to continue to develop the technology. AI is coming more into play, so I'm interested to see how that will help us. But hot off the press for 2025, we're going into a new supplier partnership. So rather than just a supplier relationship that supplies products, we're actually moving towards a partnership, which I'm really excited about. They're going to be much more involved with helping us with training, refreshing training, all of that kind of thing. But the exciting thing is that we're moving forward with new products, with new technology. So for the first time, we are going to be able to use products that we're going to be able to make environmentally friendly claims about, which I think is really important for the future. We're going to be using resin-based, plant-based mineral products, which is, really exciting for us there. And we're also developing, they are also developing other products which we're going to be able to use. So, what we can then do with those products in terms of delivering different types of services that we're currently doing. So again, adding to the revenue streams for the franchisees. But all of these things will also benefit all of our customers' lawns, making them happy customers. And we haven't dropped in anywhere here, but customer service is huge to us. We've got over 11,000 Trustpilot reviews at 4.8 stars, and everything we do, that needs to continue. So I think for me, the biggest thing for 2025 is going to be this new partnership and the new products that we're going to be using.
Yeah, and sort of future-proofing the business, really, because obviously, we're working in with products that are controlled legislation-wise. So, and that changes, that's evolving all the time. So it's just making sure we're keeping one step ahead of that in every case. And like I say, future-proofing the business so that people who join the business today, they can see 5, 10, 15 years ahead and say, Greensleeves have put all the right products in place to make sure that my business will continue to be able to operate and give me the returns that I need.
Yeah.
Perfect. Well, look, we have now come to the end. Thank you both for your time today. I'm going to talk a little bit about what's going to happen next week on this show and on our sister show. While I'm doing that, there is a QR code top left-hand side of the screen that rather conveniently takes you to the Greensleeves Franchising page. So please scan that if you would like to find out more. So I'd like to thank everybody who's been here live today and has listened to this live, everybody who's going to watch it in the future as well. Please reach out to us if you want to ask any more questions, and we will answer them even in the future as well. So next week on the Franchise Show, our sister show, we are discussing franchise knowledge sharing with regular favourite and supporter of the show, Penny Hopkinson. So that's going to be a fantastic episode. Please join us for that. That will be Tuesday, 17th of December, 5:15 GMT, 12:15 EST. And next week on Franchising Brand Stories, we are going to have a returning guest, and I'm going to have to get my dancing shoes on again, because we've got Anne-Marie Martin from Diddy Dance coming back, TikTok legend. And we're going to find out the latest and all that's happening in the world of Diddy Dance and dancing. So it's going to be a fantastic one. Join us Thursday, 19th of December, 5:15 GMT, 12:15 EST for that. And until next time, thank you to you both, and thank you to everyone who's listening, and see you next time. Cheerio.